Hello, we will see in this video what are the constants, what are the constants types and what are the deadlines. When we talk about constants, when we schedule a project, Microsoft majorly auto-schedule every task. So, when we auto-schedule a task, the dates are applied as soon as possible. But what does task constants do? The task constant is to start and finish the task. It means to start on date or to start a finish date, or not to start before that date or to start any particular date. If we have to apply something like this, then we use constant for that. By default, the Microsoft project that schedules all these tasks as soon as possible means as soon as your project is over or an activity is over, then what does the next activity do? Schedule. But when we talk about that, we need to some changes in it, or your project should start on specific date, or there is a specific date on which your project should end or should finish, or there is an activity that should finish on that day. We call it constant. Whenever you add specific limits for tasks, we call it constant. So while scheduling, we use different constants like as soon as possible, as late as possible, then finish no earlier than, start no earlier than, must start on, must finish on, and finish no later than. And after that comes start no later than, means after that you don't have to start. So there are about 8 types of constants which we will see in detail. Where is the use of constant? When we specifically have a project task that you have to start a specific date or then more ahead of that deadline or whatever, the task is not going to be completed on the same date. So for this, constant helps you to mention it in the project, because when we add any task in the project or any schedule in the project, so automatically the dates keep going forward. Like you keep changing in the task, so the changes keep happening in the task. But as you apply the constant will overlay the changes you are doing in the task. When we add the exact schedule, we will see like the first thing that comes in this as soon as possible. Means if you are starting any task, then this default constant automatically adds for new task. As soon as you start the project, there is no predecessor for this, or there is no dependency on other tasks. So when you give next task start, then it starts. Second comes as late as possible, means ALAP. So what happens in this? Finish the task on project finish date means your task, when your project has direct finish date, then it finishes. And this is rarely used because it is not used in most of the cases. If it is getting over quickly, then we will finish it quickly. It is not used as late as possible. After that comes finish no earlier than, FNET, means this task is the deadline given to you. It will not end before that date. So you get flexibility in this. Like there are 2 types of tasks, flexible and non-flexible or inflexible. So the first one we saw, as soon as possible or as late as possible, this come in flexible, and finish no earlier than, this also comes in flexible. Means whatever date you enter in, after that your task or the activity you assign on it, then it will finish. Then if there is no predecessor for it, or you have a task which has no predecessor, then you can add on the finish date from that day, or you can select the task from the same day. So in the same way, if predecessor are available, then it depends on the date you have given. Then after that your task will be finished. FNET constant is default assigned in Microsoft. When you assign the finish date for the task, and Microsoft project applies that ability in flexible constant. When you schedule finish date, it will take you ahead as you add task in it. What will happen? Your date will go ahead. After that, next constant is start no earlier than. Means you don't have to start before the fixed date. You have to start after that. Suppose you have project, you have to start the project on the 10th. So you don't have to start the project before that. You can start on 11, 12, 13 after 10th. So this type of constant is called start no earlier than. And for this you can depend on the previous task. And SNET is default constant type. When we add any new task, then the task after that, if we didn't give any constant, then its desk automatically schedule will go ahead. So we will see about this when we are doing exact entry. After that, next comes finish no later than. This comes in your inflexible constant type. Finish no later than means you have given a specific date, so you have to complete it before that. This task you have to complete before the date. Before that, if you have no predecessor or you have not given any dependency in the previous one, then task start or its predecessor. If you try to move the predecessor, then it will move ahead of the planning constant date. In this situation, your scheduling conflicts will appear on your screen. It will be activated and it will show on your screen. After that, your next step is that it's start no later than. Start no later than means you have given a specific date. After that, you don't have to start the project. Means before that, your project should start. Like if there is no predecessor or dependency in this task, then your task which is going to start. If you try to move everything, then the planning constant date will be the same as the previous one. Next is must finish on. Means you have specific date. On that date you have to finish it. You can say it predecessor, and if there is a predecessor and it indicates finish date of the task, so if you take it first, then you will get planning wizard, and if you are taking it further, then also schedule conflicts can come. Or if it is the same in must start on, the task can't start before and after. You have to start it on that day only. If there are any changes in it, the planning wizard will alert you that your conflict can occur. So these are your constants and types. There are flexible and inflexible types in this. You can see the types, you have seen it like must finish on, must start on, start no earlier than, finish no earlier than, finish no later than, start no later than. So this way you can apply the constants. How to apply these or how to show it in your project, we'll see in the next video. After that comes your deadline. Deadline means when you are adding any task or something in it, then there is a fixed time period to complete it. We call it deadline. Generally, if we are doing any work, we take some deadline for it. We call it deadline. Your project cannot go ahead of deadline. Before that, you have to finish the project. If your project is going ahead of deadline, you can see conflicts in it. So how to apply deadline in the project, we will see next.